Hey guys, back in 2000, the very first Tundra, not the very first Toyota pickup, but the very first Tundra came into existence. And today, we're going to be doing a really fun video. We're going to be comparing the first generation of Tundra to the latest generation. In other words, the third generation. And to help us do that, I've got James, who's our now Toyota expert. Isn't that right, James?
Expert-ish. I'll take it. I'll take it.
If you've watched the video where we did a comparison of the FJ to the 4Runner, you'll know that this man knows his Toyotas backwards and forwards. And this happens to be your new / old Tundra.
New to me.
Yeah, you just bought it. It's a 2006. It's got 1,000 miles on it.
Yep.
How much smaller is it than the new one?
So from a length perspective, length on this one is 230 inches. That one's 252, so nearly 2 feet shorter. From a looking at the front perspective, that's kind of the stark, and that's why we got them parked together. Yeah, I mean my hood alone is lower, but the great thing about this one, the visibility, it feels like an older Toyota, so you can really see like kind of down where and thanks for letting me drive this one today. The hood comes out so far and so flat, you kind of lose a lot of that visibility in front.
So James just drove both of them, so he's very familiar with the difference between them, but they're in some ways very similar. So this is an off-road version?
Yeah, TRD off-road, yep.
And this is a TRD off-road as well?
Yep.
But I have to say, I'm a little confused because I'm not sure what makes this a TRD off-road, because if I remember right, there's no locker in it, right?
Correct. Yeah, no locker. I think your generation, your truck was the first one to get a locker.
It only took them 20 years.
Yeah.
22 years, actually. And there's really not a lot of skid plating. There's no I can't.
No. I think suspension is probably it. Suspension and the stock tires at the time.
And you've got upgraded tires, obviously.
Yeah. This is an 06, 16 years old, so these are not the original tires. But yeah, I was fortunate the previous owner had Duratrax on it.
All right, James, I got to ask you the most pressing question that
Yes,
you
sir.
guys want to know, and that is, of course, the biggest stink about this generation is that there are no recovery hooks in the front. Are there recovery hooks in the front of yours?
Actually, it looks like maybe right here.
Oh, look at that.
But they're pretty basic.
But they exist.
They exist.
Yeah.
I think you hooking up to there, I think you're going to tear up the bottom of your bumper. So
now the other thing that this is known for, of course, is the powertrain, right? Because this is the so-called million-mile Tundra. Why don't you pop the hood and tell them what's under the hood? Yeah.
Sure.
If you guys have been familiar with our coverage, you know that Toyota recently, a couple of years ago, basically featured one of these because it had gone over 1 million miles.
Wasn't that a second gen?
Was that a second gen?
I think it was a 4.7.
Tommy says that's a second gen. This is a 4.7.
Well, didn't they do a thing in the second gen where you could get the 5.7 and the older engine? I think there was a while there where you could get both of them.
Anyway, so this is the 4.7 liter, which is the smaller of the V8. So how much horsepower, James? Do you remember?
I do not.
I think it's around 200-ish.
Yeah, low 200s, probably 220, 230, something like that. A good bit of torque. It's a 5-speed automatic. It cruises on the highway in 5th gear in the low 2,000 RPM range, so it does pretty good. Miles per gallon, 13 city, official EPA numbers at the time, 13 city, 16 highway. Combined is about 15, and that's about what I'm seeing. It is not a great vehicle to have when gas prices are high like right now. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, Toyotas have been known for a lot of things, but the most important thing they're known for is their reliability. And with 150,000 miles, I got to say, this truck looks brand new. I'm really impressed by it. 271 horsepower? Wow. That's a lot of horsepower.
So I have to give all the credit. I've only owned the vehicle for 2 months. I have to give all the credit to the previous owner. He was a former mechanic. He took amazing care of it.
Yeah, you've got a very clean truck. Now, you traded a Tacoma in on this.
I sold a Tacoma. So my wife and I were down to just our 4Runner from the previous video as our only four-door vehicle. And the Tacoma was just a little on the small side. And this is kind of the polar opposite. It's so long. It's practically in 2 zip codes, but it gives us the extra kind of crew cab space in the rear, so we can actually carry 4 people around.
Well, let's pop the hood on this one and look at the difference that has happened in 2 generations. So obviously Toyota has gone away from the V8, and in this case we've got a 3.5 liter twin turbo V6, and I think first and foremost, there's a lot less to see because there's a big old engine cover. And there's a lot more stuff under here. It's much busier because obviously when you've got this much horsepower, and we're looking at 385 if I remember right, Andre would know this, you've also got a lot more coolers and intercoolers, and actually even a transmission cooler, believe it or not.
This one has that as well. That's this guy right here.
That's your transmission cooler.
Yep.
This one is a little tiny transmission cooler. It's kind of hidden under there, so you can't really see it. Do you have dual horns? I've got a single horn. Do you have dual horns? You have dual horns. I knew he had dual horns. Look at that. Oh, they were serious about their horns back in 2006. And of course, one of the biggest changes in technology is, a front-facing camera, right? And all this stuff down here, which is, adaptive cruise control, all the goodies. Actually, I've got two horns too. I was wrong. So they haven't changed. We both have dual horns.
Yeah.
Now, so tell me, how did you like driving this compared to your old one?
Well, the main difference, and I got to give Toyota credit, it doesn't feel like a V6. The two turbos, they've tuned it really well. It feels like a V8. It's got plenty of power. I'm sure it's a lot more efficient. It's kind of the whole point. But no, it's an impressive truck. Obviously not having towed with it, but I would expect, with this engine being 16 years newer than this one, I would expect that it's more than ample for towing. So.
All right, let's take a look inside. Why don't you hop on inside yours?
Sure.
And kind of walk Tommy, who's behind the camera, through the inside and tell us what you like or dislike about the interior. This is from the oval days of Toyota, right?
The oval days, yeah. And the Limited has a lot of kind of embarrassing wood trim that I intentionally avoided when buying this with the leather. And the cloth interior holds up surprisingly well. Got a set of WeatherTech floor mats. From a size perspective over my Tacoma, it was a big upgrade.
Did you buy the WeatherTech, or did they come with it?
I bought it.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
I bought them.
They're one of our sponsors, so.
Yeah, and they're local too. They're in Broomfield. Yeah.
Do you like them?
It's funny. I thought the interior of the truck was tan, so I bought a lot of tan stuff, and then I put it in here and realized, oh, it's actually gray.
Hey, you want to take a look at the sticker, Tommy? See what the payload is compared to the new one? That's got to be. Is there a sticker? Yeah.
1421.
1,421 pounds. Which I think is very similar to ours. I want to say ours is 1,400 pounds, so that hasn't really changed, has it? What do you like about this interior, and what don't you like about it, James?
So it's spacious, it's comfortable. One of the great things, kind of the difference between the new truck and the old truck, the hood really slopes down, so you get great visibility out of it. The main thing that I don't like, that center console is really low.
Yeah, it is very low. You're right.
And you can't really put an elbow on it.
What you've got this?
You have the armrest, but then that blocks the seat belts.
Oh.
So yeah. So I've been looking for aftermarket center consoles for these, and they're not really out there.
Well, a business opportunity for all of you young, inspiring entrepreneurs, for all the second and first generation, because I think the second generation might be taller.
Yeah.
It might be taller. All right, let's look at the bed. Let's check out the business end of this guy.
Where most of the rust is.
Yeah, back in the day, people weren't bedlining as much, were they?
Yeah.
I mean, and then of course nowadays we've got a lot more tie-down points, right?
Yeah.
And just a lot more going on in the bed. This was from a generation of truck where it was all about just having this big box that you could fit with bikes or rocks or hay or whatever you decided to move. What do you do with it? Why did you want this big old full-size truck?
So my wife and I will occasionally do the Home Depot run here or there. Every now and then we'll need a tree for our yard, so we'll throw a tree back here, run up to the tree farm in Longmont or things like that. So, it's a good, if you own a home or you're gonna do home improvement type stuff, it's a good idea to have a pickup truck around. Our Tacoma, for the period we had it, it's got some rust there.
Yeah, that's the worst right there.
So I bought a grinder. At some point I'll grind these two spots down, take the whole bed off, make sure that the frame underneath is clean, do the Pour 15 thing on it, and then probably get this all bed lined, and then it's preserved. But yeah, this is the worst of the whole truck. That's really kind of the one bad spot on it, but not bad for a 16-year-old truck.
Yeah, I'm sure if it had been bed lined, we would have been better off. All right, let's look at the modern truck and compare. Let me move over here. So obviously the first thing that you're immediately struck by is that it's lined in plastic, right? So you won't have that issue. And then of course you have more tie-down points and movable tie-down points where you can shift them around the whole bed. And actually, in terms of like truck tech, this isn't even all that new, but you do have a place where you could put 2x4s here as well over there. But a lot of the modern trucks now have onboard power. I think you can get that if you specify it. You know, lights over here, which we don't have. But like I say, I think that's the biggest improvement.
Yeah, I think the whole bed is actually a polymer rather than
Yeah.
metal. Yeah, and I know they've been doing that for a while.
And it's a nice touch because you know, you feel like if you're sliding something in here, it's not going to damage the bed, and you're not going to end up with rust. Do you think that this one has a better ride than yours, or what's your?
I feel like they're pretty comparable.
Yeah.
You know, had them both up to speed, 55, 60 miles an hour, and they're both comfortable trucks. You could definitely spend all day driving them around. So.
Now the interior of the new one has of course gone much more digital, so we have a massive screen in the center. But I do like the choice of materials, right? Back you had that kind of basic mouse fur.
Cloth and plastic. Yeah.
Cloth, plastic, and mouse fur, and they, you know, this has a much more stylish interior. I do like the switches that we have, where you can kind of toggle things up and down, and of course a lot more electronics that at some point might break, but are really nice to have in a modern truck.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
did you
I
look
have
at
to
the
use my phone for navigation when I navigate around in mine. So yeah, no factory nav.
Did you look at the sticker, Tommy? Let's see how much payload. I think it's 1,400 as well, but let's take a look. How much?
1,400.
Yeah, so that's not a big change, right? Over the years.
Not at all.
And you know, I think you were rolling on, what size were those? Are those 16s?
Duratrax 265, so 32s.
Okay, and
Yep.
we're rolling on a little bit bigger tire. Actually, yours are much more off-road worthy than ours. So how much did you pay for this guy?
So got it a couple of months ago.
Yep.
Paid $15,500 for it.
Yeah.
I got $11,500 for my Tacoma, which was more than what I paid for it. We'd had Tacoma for about 5 years. So the upgrade cost to go to it was a 99 Tacoma with about the same mileage. To go from the Tacoma to this only cost me ultimately $4,000 out of pocket.
Now this guy it's a limited, of course, and it was $57,000. So we're looking at just a boatload of more cash that you have to spend on it, and we were lucky to get it. But you know, as a truck, the thing is, I'm not sure this has any less or more utility, right? Than I don't know what the towing rating is on yours. It's probably lower. We probably could Google it. This one is 11,000 pounds, so you can probably tow a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, this is nice and shiny and new. This isn't nice and shiny and new, but you know, the difference in price isn't going to get you any more utility.
Not really.
Would if you could buy this one, you'd still buy the old one, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, why?
Because I don't mind tearing this up.
Yeah.
And not that that's not my goal to go out and tear it up, but it's, you know, you throw stuff in the back of it and you don't really mind, and if a shopping cart hits it, you don't really mind. I've got my nice vehicles and I've got my functional vehicles, and this one is definitely on the functional end.
Do you think the Toyota has gone the right direction with the Tundra, or would you rather have them stayed, you know, more?
I can see the value in having both.
Yeah.
I think if you have to pick, you know, the thing about with the Toyota is not having a diesel option, so it's not really, there's a limit to what you can do from like a truck perspective with these. Not having a diesel option, I feel like it is in a lot of ways it is really more of a vehicle that, you know, someone that's their daily driver and they need a truck every so often. For us, you know, this isn't a daily driver. It you know, just kind of sits around, and when we need a truck, we use it, and when we don't need it, it doesn't add up any miles.
Well, there is obviously a hybrid version of this as well. This one we're getting, I don't know, in the, you know, high teens in terms of fuel economy, which isn't bad, like 19, 20.
Yeah.
I think you get a few more miles per gallon if you do get the hybrid. But like you said, if you just want a truck to you know, to bang around over the weekend to the Home Depot, this is certainly a good, reliable answer. Well, guys, let me know in the comments below which of these two you would choose. Yeah, thank you, James, for showing off your truck. Really
seeing you
appreciate
again.
it. All right, good seeing you.
Thanks.